Now let's look at each. So we discussed currently about marketing metrics. Let's look now at different stages or the different attributes of marketing of metrics of each attribute. So one of the category of marketing metrics could be marketing planning metrics. So planning metrics would be used for evaluating the structure of the industry. It would help you in identifying major players and assess firms' relative position. So say I'm a telecom giant and I want to enter today, or I'm an incumbent and I want to enter in this industry. Now, as we know, the telecom industry is quite matured enough and it has it has developed over a period of time. So if I were to enter as an incumbent, I would first like to understand what is the structure of the industry. So using this matrix, it would help you understand what is the industry, who are the major players, and what would be my relative position of my firm if I enter. So how you would be able to assess this or how you'd be able to quantify is using different marketing planning metrics. So now if you see, the first planning metric is market share, which is a very common metric which everyone talks about. So market share could be the total sales which you are generating upon the total market sales. So if the total market sales is around 200 and your total sales is 100, so your market share is around 50% which you are. So this could also help you in understanding in the future, like if I want to enter in this industry and I want to target a 30% market share where my total market sales is projected to be 200 in the future, then I'm looking at a target of total sales of say 60 units or 60 the revenue or whatever is the unit. So this is how it would help you in understanding or deriving at your target sales or what is the current position in your market. The next would be the unit market share. So there are different variation of market share which you would be seeing. So units market share is something like total quantity sold upon total quantity you sold upon total quantity the market has sold. So again, if you take, say you're taking at a total market quantity sold is 100 and you have sold around 20, so your unit market share is around 20%. So there are different variations. The other variation could be revenue market share, where you are looking at your sales revenue upon the total market revenue and coming at a percentage term, like what is your revenue market share, what is your unit market share, and then it would help you in deriving what is your total market share or market share in the current industry. The next would be the relative market share, where we are talking with respect to brand. So if I have a market leader in my particular category or in a particular industry in which I'm operating, and that market leader market share is around 30% and my market share is around 20%. So here I'm looking somewhere around a ratio of 2 by 3, that is 66.67%, where my relative market share is 66.6% with respect to the market leader's market share. So this is the relative market share which helps you in understanding how are you placed currently today with your market leader currently. It would also help you in deciding where I should be placed tomorrow or how much should I sell tomorrow to be placed in line with my competitors. So this matrix would help you in devising different strategies and different objectives which you have kept in mind. The next metric would be market concentration. So there could be so if you take a particular industry example, there could be small number of firms which would be accounting for a large proportion of market. So if you see an oil industry, there are three or four firms or players who are accounting for large proportion of market. So when we talk about market concentration, the industry or the market is majorly dominated by these three or four players, and the remaining players contribute to a very less are accounting for a very small proportion of a market. So if you say the market share is say 100 and my three or four players in that industry are generating around 70%, so my market concentration is 70%, where four firms are contributing 70% to the of my market share in that industry, and the remaining firms are only contributing to 30%. So this is a very typical kind of or a industry which would have some of the players would have unique capabilities in terms of they would have large capital, they would be investing largely, they would have been operating over a large period of time, they would have created monopoly, a brand impression, different factors which would come into picture in arriving or in creating a monopoly of this three or four terms. So if I have to look at now at the concentration ratio, I look at total market share held by these three or four players in the market. So in the previous example which we saw, the total market share held was 70%. So my concentration ratio is 70%. This helps you in telling that 70% of the concentration is being handled or is being captured by the three or four top players of my industry.